memoir, and he's here with us today. Please welcome Martin Kemp.
How you doing, guys?
Welcome.
Good to see you all.
Good to see you, Martin. Ticket to the World, my 80s story. And we've been talking about news, blues and various bits today. And the 80s, I certainly look back on, and I, albeit relatively young, but it was a larger-than-life decade.
It was. Well, it was.
It was about shoulder pads and big hair and colour and everything else.
Everything was larger than life.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is why I wanted to write that, because looking back on it, I wanted to take people back, like yourself, if you lived through it and you remember it. Also, if you never lived through it, I wanted to show you what it was like.
It was so long ago, I can't remember it, mine.
Well, I'll show you what it's like. But that's primarily why I wanted to write it. But to understand the 80s, you have to understand what became before. And before was all in black and white. Everything, your magazines were in black and white. Television, for me, in my house, was black and white until, like, 1979. So when the 80s came along, it's just an explosion of colour, and which we all forget about.
Is it your favourite decade, do you think?
Well, it is
your
for
whole
me.
life? Because we're about the same age, I think,
must
and
be,
Jane,
But it is for me because it was the door that opened to an incredible journey for me. And what I wanted to do was, you know, it's called Ticket to World, my 80s story, but it's everybody's story. I want you to come on the journey and remember your life while you're looking at mine.
It was the good old days, though, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
I mean,
off again.
I do keep looking back, but it really was. I mean, the music, like you say, the clothes, everything. The fashion was amazing.
Well, especially with you guys.
Well, you know, we started off in that club called the Blitz with Steve Strange. You know Steve. And it was a hub of enthusiasm. Like I say, you have to look back at the 70s to understand it and realise that what was before in pop culture, it was about punk. It was about no ambition, destroy everything, bring everything down, chaos. Where New Romantics was all about ambition and what we can do and putting things together. And we all went to this club called the Blitz. And if you think of the bands and the people in the arts that came out of the Blitz, from what were probably 100 people, it was incredible. Bananarama, Sade, Spandau, the list goes on and on and on. Stephen Jones, the Milner that was made hats for the Queen. It was just ridiculous. At one point in a Blitz, it was almost as if you could click your fingers and say, I want to be this, and you were.
It was a bit competitive, though. Was it competitive exhibitionism, if you like?
Yeah.
To see how people were so outrageous the way they dressed.
Yeah, I mean...
And it was all new, though. They created it, didn't they?
It was pop culture. I always think of it as the last of the great pop cultures. It was... The Blitz was kind of situated in between two really big art schools. And so all of the kids from the art schools that used to come down to the Blitz would kind of design stuff during the week and then use the Blitz almost as if for their fashion runway. So they would come in wearing these absolutely outrageous costumes.
We were talking earlier, because I was at Journalism College in Cardiff in 1980, and we went to see Spandau in Cardiff Docklands when it was proper spit and sawdust.
Oh, look at you.
No. Oh, yeah, that was about 81. But these guys, they pitched up in the Docklands. We went to this pub afterwards called The Packet, I think it was called.
Right.
With all these old guys with flat caps and like this. And they all turned up in, like, velvet knickerbockers, white frilly shirts, all of that.
Do you know the thing is, with all of that fashion, and when we look back at it now, it seems really odd, but all that Spandau did was wore the clothes that kids were wearing in clubs at that point.
Exactly.
It wasn't like we were making these things up.
It was a movement, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you about writing a memoir, because obviously it's your memories, but you've always got to tread that line, haven't you, of, like, it's your memories, but you've got to try and do it so that it's truthful, but it doesn't upset other people.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think now that, you know, I'm 61 now, I've reached a point in my life where when I look back at those days in Spandau, it's almost as if it's somebody else. You know, I read this lovely thing where it says every 7 years you change every cell in your body, right? So you are a different person every 7 years. So I think I'm about 6 times removed from the kid that I was watching just on the screen, you know.
Have you showed it to your brother yet? Has he read it?
He's got it.
He's got it.
But it's going to take him a couple of years before he reads it, I know that.
I wanted to ask you a little cheeky question, because you speak very fondly of Tony Hadley in the book, and he's been on the show a lot, actually. Do you think that there could be a rapprochement in the future and the band get back together?
A rapprochement?
A rapprochement.
A reunion.
A little reunion. Yeah. A little reunion. The band could get back...
for reunion, right?
To get back together?
To be honest with you, no, I don't. But if it did happen, I would be over the moon to do 1 or 2 shows.
Yeah.
I mean, I could never see myself going back out on tour again. But to be honest, I don't think it will. Yeah.
That's because you're very, very busy with so many other things and have been, and we haven't even touched on Roman and your relationship, and indeed your daughter, who we're going to give a big mention out to. But you and your son definitely have this incredible connection. We see it on Gogglebox as viewers, and on your weekend programme, of course, as well. That's a very special relationship to have in showbiz with your son.
It's absolutely wonderful, you know. It's but we kind of brought Roman up, and Harley, you know, slightly differently than a lot of people, a lot of families, where we wanted to create, bring the 4 of us into being like a gang, like a bunch of friends, rather than a family unit where you had the parents and the parents would tell the kids off and go and tell them to sit on the naughty step without really listening to what they had to say. And we didn't want that. We wanted, if I spoke to Roman and I said, you've done wrong here, I would absolutely be open to listening to what he had to say.
Yeah, I love that.
And to get feedback, because I think the most important thing for any parent is to listen, and lots of us don't. So,
good advice.
Well, Martin, like I say, it's a beautiful look through the 90s as you see it and remember it. Ticket to the World, My 80s Story is out now. Thank you very much, Martin Kemp.